Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, born on August 12, 1831, in Yekaterinoslav, modern-day Dnipro, Ukraine, was a woman who would later become one of the most influential figures in the world of esotericism and occultism. Born into a family of Russian nobility, Blavatsky was exposed to a rich cultural and intellectual environment from an early age. Her father, Colonel Peter von Hahn, served in the Russian Imperial Army, while her mother, Helena Andreevna, was a well-known novelist. This combination of military discipline and literary creativity shaped young Helena's character, fostering both her adventurous spirit and her love for knowledge. From childhood, Blavatsky displayed an unusual curiosity about the world around her. She was known for her strong will, rebellious nature, and insatiable appetite for reading. Her family's extensive library provided her access to a wide range of subjects, including history, philosophy, and mythology. However, it was her fascination with the mystical and the supernatural that truly defined her early intellectual pursuits. According to her biographers, Blavatsky often spoke of experiencing paranormal phenomena as a child, which further fueled her interest in the esoteric. At the age of 17, Helena entered into a brief and unhappy marriage with Nikifor Blavatsky, a much older man who worked as the vice governor of Yerevan, modern-day Yerevan, Armenia. The marriage was more of a social arrangement than a romantic union, and Helena, ever defiant of societal norms, left her husband after just a few months. This decision marked the beginning of her lifelong journey across the globe, seeking spiritual truths and ancient wisdom. Blavatsky's early travels took her to various parts of Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. During this period, she claimed to have studied under several mystics and spiritual teachers. These experiences would later form the foundation of her esoteric teachings. While some contemporaries viewed her accounts with skepticism, others believed she had indeed accessed rare and ancient knowledge. Blavatsky's formative years were marked by intellectual exploration and a search for meaning. She was not content with the conventional education offered to women of her time. Instead, she sought knowledge from unconventional sources, including ancient manuscripts, oral traditions, and personal experiences. This thirst for understanding would define her entire life. Her family's aristocratic background also provided her access to intellectual circles in Russia and Europe. Blavatsky engaged in discussions with scholars, philosophers, and mystics, broadening her perspective and challenging traditional viewpoints. These interactions enriched her understanding of both Western and Eastern philosophies. During her early travels, Blavatsky reportedly encountered indigenous spiritual practices in the Caucasus and the Middle East. She observed rituals, spoke with shamans, and studied ancient texts. These experiences deepened her belief in a universal spiritual truth underlying all religions and philosophies. While some accounts of her early life remain shrouded in mystery, they paint a picture of a woman driven by an unrelenting quest for knowledge. Whether exploring ancient ruins in Egypt or attending philosophical salons in Paris, Blavatsky demonstrated an unwavering commitment to uncovering the hidden truths of existence. Blavatsky's early exposure to classical literature also shaped her intellectual framework. She read extensively in multiple languages, including French, German, and English, which enabled her to access a vast array of philosophical and spiritual texts. This multilingual ability would later prove invaluable in her theosophical writings. Her interactions with indigenous communities further broadened her understanding of spirituality. She often spoke of the wisdom embedded in oral traditions, viewing them as repositories of ancient truths overlooked by mainstream scholarship. These encounters reinforced her belief in a universal spiritual heritage. Blavatsky's early experiences with mysticism were not limited to books and conversations. She claimed to have experienced visions and out-of-body experiences, which she interpreted as glimpses into higher realms of existence. While skeptics dismissed these claims, Blavatsky viewed them as evidence of humanity's latent spiritual potential. Ultimately, Blavatsky's early life laid the groundwork for her later teachings. Her intellectual curiosity, combined with her adventurous spirit, propelled her toward a life dedicated to uncovering and sharing the world's esoteric wisdom. 2. Spiritual awakening and travels. Helena Blavatsky's spiritual awakening was not a singular event, but rather a series of experiences that deepened her understanding of esoteric traditions. Her travels, particularly in India, Tibet, and Egypt, played a crucial role in shaping her worldview. During these journeys, she claimed to have encountered spiritual adepts known as the Masters or Mahatmas, who guided her in her quest for higher knowledge. One of the most significant periods of Blavatsky's life was her alleged time in Tibet. While historical evidence for her prolonged stay there remains inconclusive, Blavatsky insisted that she had studied under Tibetan lamas and learned ancient spiritual practices. These experiences were pivotal in her development as an occultist and would later form the basis of her most famous works. Blavatsky's travels were not merely physical, but also intellectual and spiritual. She immersed herself in the study of Hinduism, Buddhism, Kabbalah, and Western esotericism. This eclectic approach allowed her to synthesize diverse traditions into a cohesive spiritual philosophy. Her ability to draw parallels between Eastern and Western mystical traditions set her apart from other spiritual thinkers of her time. Throughout her travels, Blavatsky also encountered numerous challenges. As a woman traveling alone in the 19th century, she faced societal prejudice and logistical difficulties. Nevertheless, her determination and resilience enabled her to continue her quest for knowledge. Her writings from this period reflect both the hardships she faced and the profound insights she gained. Blavatsky's journey through India exposed her to ancient Hindu texts, such as the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. She studied under local gurus who introduced her to yogic practices and the philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. This exposure deepened her understanding of non-dualism and the concept of universal consciousness. In Egypt, Blavatsky explored the mysteries of ancient temples and papyri. She claimed to have witnessed occult rituals and studied under Coptic mystics. These experiences reinforced her belief in an ancient, universal wisdom that had been preserved through secret traditions. Her travels in Europe also brought her into contact with prominent intellectuals and spiritualists. Blavatsky engaged in debates, attended seances, and studied contemporary philosophical works. This intellectual engagement enriched her understanding and helped her articulate her emerging spiritual philosophy. Ultimately, Blavatsky's travels were both a physical and metaphysical journey. They shaped her beliefs, informed her writings, and prepared her for her role as a spiritual leader and founder of the Theosophical Society. Blavatsky's time in the Himalayas, whether historical or allegorical, became a cornerstone of her spiritual narrative. She described encounters with Mahatmas, enlightened beings who imparted ancient wisdom. While skeptics dismissed these accounts, supporters viewed them as evidence of her deep spiritual insight. Her exploration of South Asia also exposed her to indigenous healing practices and folk traditions. Blavatsky often spoke of the parallels between these practices and Western esoteric traditions, further reinforcing her belief in a shared spiritual heritage. In addition to studying ancient texts, Blavatsky engaged with contemporary thinkers in India and the Middle East. She participated in philosophical discussions, attended religious ceremonies, and documented her observations. These experiences enriched her understanding and provided material for her later writings. Blavatsky's travels were not solely academic, they were deeply personal. She often described moments of profound spiritual insight, which she interpreted as glimpses into higher realms of existence. These experiences fueled her commitment to sharing esoteric knowledge with the world. 3. Founding of Theosophy. In 1875, Helena Blavatsky, along with Henry Steele Olcott and William Quan Judge, founded the Theosophical Society in New York City. The Society's mission was to promote universal brotherhood, encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy, and science, and investigate unexplained natural phenomena. Theosophy, as a spiritual movement, sought to bridge the gap between Eastern and Western philosophies. Blavatsky's vision for the Theosophical Society was rooted in her belief that all religions contained a core of universal truth. She argued that ancient wisdom, or Theosophia, had been preserved by spiritual adepts throughout history. The society attracted intellectuals, mystics, and seekers from around the world, making it a hub for esoteric thought. One of the key teachings of Theosophy was the idea of the 7 root races, which posited that humanity evolved through successive cycles of spiritual and physical development. While some aspects of this theory were controversial and criticized for their racial implications, Blavatsky's broader message was one of unity and spiritual evolution. The Theosophical Society's influence extended beyond spiritual circles. It played a significant role in the revival of Hindu and Buddhist traditions in India and Sri Lanka. Blavatsky's teachings also emphasized the importance of self-transformation. She believed that spiritual growth required inner discipline, ethical conduct, and continuous learning. This emphasis on personal responsibility resonated with many seekers. Her works were not without controversy. Critics accused her of plagiarism and fabrication, while supporters viewed her as a visionary. Regardless of the debate, Blavatsky's writings continued to inspire spiritual exploration and intellectual inquiry. Ultimately, Blavatsky's major works served as both philosophical treatises and spiritual guides. They provided readers with a framework for understanding the universe and their place within it. Blavatsky's lesser-known writings, including personal letters and essays, also reveal her philosophical depth. These texts often address practical aspects of spiritual practice, emphasizing mindfulness, compassion, and ethical living. Her teachings on the astral plane and subtle energies introduced Western audiences to concepts previously confined to Eastern mysticism. Blavatsky viewed these phenomena not as supernatural, but as natural extensions of human consciousness. Blavatsky's critique of materialistic science also extended to psychology and medicine. She challenged reductionist views of the mind, advocating for a holistic understanding of human existence. Ultimately, Blavatsky's writings transcended mere intellectual inquiry. They offered a path for personal transformation, encouraging readers to seek truth through direct experience and continuous self-reflection. 5. Legacy and controversies. Helena Blavatsky's legacy is both influential and controversial. On one hand, she is celebrated as a pioneer of the modern New Age movement and a bridge between Eastern and Western spiritual traditions. On the other hand, critics have questioned the authenticity of her claims and accused her of plagiarism and fabrication. Blavatsky's influence extended beyond Theosophy. Her ideas inspired prominent figures such as Rudolf Steiner, Annie Besant, and Jiddu Krishnamurti. The Theosophical Society itself split into several branches after her death, each interpreting her teachings in different ways. Criticism of Blavatsky often centered on her claims of supernatural abilities and her sources for the secret doctrine. The 1885 report by the Society for Psychical Research accused her of fraud, though the report's findings were later challenged. Despite these controversies, Blavatsky remained steadfast in her beliefs until her death on May 8, 1891. Today, Helena Blavatsky is remembered as a complex and enigmatic figure. Her contributions to esotericism, comparative religion, and spiritual philosophy continue to inspire seekers worldwide. Whether viewed as a mystic, a scholar, or a controversial figure, her impact on the world of spirituality is undeniable. Blavatsky's critics often overlook the broader significance of her work. While her claims of supernatural powers were contentious, her emphasis on universal brotherhood and spiritual evolution resonated with many. Her writings encouraged readers to think critically, question dogma, and seek deeper truths. Supporters of Blavatsky viewed her as a trailblazer who challenged conventional wisdom. They admired her courage, resilience, and intellectual rigor. For many, Blavatsky represented the possibility of spiritual enlightenment through personal effort and open-minded exploration. The controversies surrounding Blavatsky did not diminish her impact. If anything, they underscored the radical nature of her ideas and the challenges faced by those who question established paradigms. Her legacy continues to inspire both admiration and debate. Ultimately, Blavatsky's life and work remind us of the importance of intellectual curiosity, spiritual exploration, and the pursuit of universal truth. Blavatsky's influence extended to popular culture as well. Her ideas shaped early 20th century spiritual movements, including the New Thought and New Age movements. Concepts like karma, reincarnation, and spiritual evolution entered mainstream discourse largely due to her efforts. Her legacy also lives on through the Theosophical Society, which continues to promote her teachings. The Society hosts lectures, publishes books, and supports spiritual exploration worldwide. Despite ongoing debates about her authenticity, Blavatsky's impact on modern spirituality is undeniable. She challenged conventional worldviews, encouraged cross-cultural dialogue, and inspired countless individuals to embark on their spiritual journeys. Ultimately, Blavatsky's life serves as a testament to the power of intellectual curiosity and spiritual resilience. Her writings continue to inspire seekers, reminding us that the pursuit of truth often lies beyond conventional boundaries. 6. Influence on Eastern and Western thought. Blavatsky's influence extended beyond esotericism into the broader realms of Eastern and Western thought. She played a significant role in introducing Eastern philosophies to Western audiences, emphasizing the commonalities between traditions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, and Western mysticism. Her writings highlighted the shared spiritual heritage of humanity, encouraging cross-cultural dialogue and mutual respect. Blavatsky's promotion of Hindu and Buddhist philosophies coincided with the rise of cultural nationalism in India. Figures such as Swami Vivekananda and Annie Besant acknowledged her role in rekindling interest in ancient Indian wisdom. In the West, her emphasis on esoteric Christianity and Hermeticism inspired scholars, artists, and spiritual seekers. Her ideas also influenced Western psychology, particularly the works of Carl Jung. Jung's concepts of the collective unconscious and archetypes echoed Blavatsky's teachings on universal spiritual truths. This cross-pollination of ideas enriched both Eastern and Western philosophical landscapes. Ultimately, Blavatsky's efforts bridged cultural divides, fostering a global conversation on spirituality and human potential. 7. Theosophy and social reform. While primarily a spiritual movement, Theosophy also embraced social reform. Blavatsky and her colleagues advocated for gender equality, religious tolerance, and the rights of marginalized communities. They viewed social progress as an extension of spiritual evolution, emphasizing the importance of ethical conduct and compassion. Blavatsky's advocacy for women's rights was particularly noteworthy. She challenged patriarchal norms, promoting education and intellectual freedom for women. Within the Theosophical Society, women held leadership positions and contributed to philosophical discourse. Theosophy also supported cultural preservation, particularly in India and Sri Lanka. Blavatsky and Olcott worked to revive indigenous spiritual practices, countering colonial narratives that dismissed non-Western traditions as primitive. Through its progressive stance, Theosophy became a platform for social change, aligning spiritual growth with ethical responsibility. 8. Criticism and defense. Blavatsky's work was not without its critics. Skeptics questioned her claims of supernatural abilities, while scholars scrutinized her sources. The 1885 report by the Society for Psychical Research accused her of fraud, though these findings were later contested. Critics also accused Blavatsky of cultural appropriation, arguing that she romanticized Eastern traditions while disregarding their cultural context. Supporters, however, viewed her as a bridge builder who sought to highlight universal truths rather than appropriate specific practices. Blavatsky's defenders pointed to her intellectual contributions and advocacy for religious tolerance. They argued that her teachings encourage cross-cultural understanding rather than exploitation. Ultimately, Blavatsky's legacy remains complex, reflecting both the transformative potential and inherent challenges of cross-cultural spiritual exchange. 9. Impact on modern spiritual movements. Blavatsky's influence extends into contemporary spiritual movements, including the New Age, holistic wellness, and eco-spirituality. Concepts such as karma, reincarnation, and spiritual evolution entered mainstream discourse largely due to her efforts. The New Age movement, which emerged in the 20th century, drew heavily from theosophical teachings. Practices such as meditation, energy healing, and chakra work found new expression in Western contexts, reflecting Blavatsky's integrative approach. Blavatsky's emphasis on holistic well-being also resonated with modern wellness practices. Her writings on the mind-body-spirit connection anticipated contemporary approaches to health and personal development. Through her intellectual and spiritual legacy, Blavatsky continues to inspire seekers worldwide, shaping modern approaches to spirituality and self-discovery. 10. The enduring relevance of Blavatsky's teachings. More than a century after her death, Helena Blavatsky's teachings remain relevant. Her emphasis on universal brotherhood, spiritual evolution, and cross-cultural dialogue continues to inspire individuals and organizations worldwide. The Theosophical Society, with branches in numerous countries, continues to promote Blavatsky's vision. It hosts lectures, publishes books, and supports initiatives that encourage spiritual exploration and social responsibility. Blavatsky's writings also continue to influence academic discourse, particularly in the fields of religious studies, philosophy, and cultural history. Scholars explore her contributions to comparative religion, esotericism, and cross-cultural dialogue. Ultimately, Blavatsky's enduring relevance lies in her ability to inspire critical thinking, ethical conduct, and a deeper understanding of the human experience. Conclusion: a complex legacy of spiritual inquiry. Helena Blavatsky remains a figure of fascination, controversy, and inspiration. Her life was marked by an unyielding quest for esoteric knowledge, bridging Eastern and Western philosophies in a way that challenged the intellectual and spiritual boundaries of her time. As a founder of the Theosophical Society, she introduced countless seekers to ideas of spiritual evolution, karma, and the unity underlying all religious traditions. While her claims of mystical experiences and ancient knowledge were met with skepticism, her broader message of universal brotherhood, intellectual freedom, and spiritual self-discovery resonated with many. Blavatsky's works, particularly The Secret Doctrine and Isis Unveiled, remain influential, shaping modern esotericism, the New Age movement, and cross-cultural spiritual dialogue. Her legacy is complex, admired by some, questioned by others, but undeniably impactful. Whether viewed as a visionary or a controversial figure, Helena Blavatsky's enduring influence invites us to explore the deeper dimensions of existence with open minds and compassionate hearts. Her life stands as a testament to the power of inquiry, the resilience of belief, and the endless human search for meaning.